Good afternoon, everybody, here from West London, from Brunel University of London, and to anybody joining from other part of geography, good morning to you, and good evening as well, because we had over 60 participants registered from different continents, though we know this is primarily targeting audience from the UK. I am Michael Joseph. I work in Brunel University as a RIEm program lead, and I am
it's Brunel University. And I
also
got excited.
a business development manager here. So may I request everybody, if you are not a speaker, could you please mute yourself? I'll really appreciate that. So we have planned 1 hour for this webinar. So as you see on the title, this webinar is being jointly organized by techUK and Brunel University of London, with a focus on helping small and medium enterprises and businesses to help them to secure funding for collaborative research and innovation. So to cover different aspects of this particular topic, we have got a very useful and practical agenda here. So we have got colleagues here from Brunel. We have got a view from techUK and experts who worked with us for helping businesses to secure funding, and a real first-hand experience of one of the businesses that worked with us in this program, and share. And then we have some time for question and answer and discussion. So with that brief introduction, let's go to the main one of the main agendas of this discussion. That's actually highlighting Brunel University's support to businesses to advance innovation. And this presentation is led by Professor Jeff Rogers, who is our Pro-Vice Chancellor for Enterprise and Employment. And Jeff has had different senior roles in the university, and also
Michael, you're muted.
Thank you, Jeff. And Jeff manages strategic partnerships. Jeff, over to you.
Thanks very much, Michael, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to Brunel. As Michael said, I'm Jeff Rogers. I'm Pro-Vice Chancellor for Enterprise and Employment. Brunel is not an ordinary institution. It was established in the 60s to work with businesses, to allow them to innovate with products and processes and systems, and also to educate students that would be highly employable and sought after by employers. And that mission, which was originally laid out in the 60s and 70s, has remained true today. And we still have more business contracts than many other institutions of similar size. We have highly employable graduates, and we work with very many businesses each year to help them to solve their problems, to address challenges of net zero or digitalisation, or to help them to develop new products and process. So, Michael, can I have a look at the next slide? And so, in terms of numbers, obviously we have the 13th largest income with Innovate UK to work with businesses to help them to develop new things. We have the 33rd largest portfolio of funding from the Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council, and a very large portfolio of European Union funding, all of which is used to work on projects that businesses have helped us to create, to address challenges that they have, and then to identify solutions that they can take forward into their businesses. We run 2 prestigious innovative manufacturing research centres, which are specialised in particular areas, and typically we have a research income between 25 and 27 million pounds a year for specific projects of research, all of which involve some kind of businesses, small businesses as well as large businesses and small businesses. Often the large businesses bringing in smaller businesses in their supply chain, or we work with a cluster of smaller businesses in a single sector. Thank you, Michael. And so our core mission, and it says in our charter that students will know the relevance of their learning to the affairs of the realm, and that it's quite an unusual statement in the Queen's message for setting up a university. And we offer a wide range of ways in which businesses can work with us, from collaborative R&D, contract research, CPD and short courses, apprenticeships. We have innovation vouchers, which allow businesses to do a little project with us. And we also support many businesses to sort of develop their innovation ideas, which is what RIEm is about, develop their innovation ideas, find an academic to work with to develop those ideas, and then help them to identify ways in which we can fund it in order to take that sort of thing forward, do a feasibility study or a pilot or a demonstrator. Thank you, Michael. And so we work with a range of larger strategic partners in technical areas such as Constellium on light metal casting and processing, and the Welding Institute in terms of structural integrity. And we have significant partnerships with Heathrow and Segro in the local area, but also with Siemens, O2 and Thales in technological spaces. And our research is focused in 4 main large industrial sectors, though we in some sense we have 80 and 90 research active faculty, so we're kind of doing everything to some extent. But if you cluster things together, our biggest clusters are in automotive, construction, manufacturing and oil and gas. And the technologies we are developing, and again, this is abstracted a little bit. It's if you stand quite a way away from the institution, we've got 4 or 5 really big areas that we're very active in. One is materials and metals processing. The second one is waste valorization, which is clearly of interest to many businesses these days. Sensors and AI, green tech, and then heat, energy and power. And again, of course, a number of those quite pertinent to the needs of many businesses at this particular moment in time. Much of this work is funded by public funding from Ukraine, from the European Union. Thanks, Michael. And so I think we have an example of our work. So this is an example of work we did with EDF and TWI, where we helped them to develop a transducer that was then installed in the Hysham and Warren and Hartlepool nuclear power stations, which allowed those nuclear power stations to be turned back on sooner than would have been the case without that sensor. Right, and Mike, I'm not going to go through all these, Michael, I don't think. I think I'll probably just say, and so what we try to do, I think, is we identify a small project with a business, we develop it for them, try to find some funding for it, and then once that's done, we often that needs to be taken forward further, and so we try to work with businesses to take them up an innovation escalator, where the projects get larger as we go forward, and they are and obviously become more valuable to the business as we progress them. And we have examples of many businesses we've worked with over a 5, 10, 15-year period, where we've done many innovation projects with them and helped at each stage, a critical stage of their innovation path, to develop their new technologies. And I think that's the way in which we like to work. And joining RIEm is very much the first step on that journey with us. Thank you, Michael. I think I will. Is there just a picture of the innovation escalator to finish at the end, which we just have a quick look at? There's lots of examples here of good stuff. All right, okay, so that's fine. I'll stop there. Do you want me to stay for questions, or would you like me to come back later for the questions and answers, Michael?
Thank you, Jeff. Maybe useful if you could come back later.
Yeah, I will do that then. Okay, all right, thanks. I'll hand over to Austin. I'll let you introduce Austin then.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. Really appreciate, and I know you are away in another meeting, so appreciate your contributions. Thank you. So and yes, so and we'll have some Q&A later, and Jeff would be joining us for that. So as I said in the introduction, so this is jointly organized by techUK and Brunel, and we know techUK supports small and medium enterprises and other businesses. So here, Austin Earle, who is the program manager for education and edtech in the organization, would be highlighting some of their priorities and the work with the businesses. And more importantly, I'd like to also say, Austin set up the very first education and edtech council in techUK. Austin, over to you.
Thanks very much, Michael, and thanks indeed for everyone in attending this. So as Michael kindly mentioned, I'm Austin. I head up our education and edtech program here at techUK, relatively young program, launched last year, but I'm really glad to be here and to be invited to partner and speak for this webinar. So while I'm not specifically in our SME team, we do have an SME support team. A big part of my role involves supporting SME tech companies working in and around education and helping them, I think, broadly connect with institutions like Brunel. So I'm really pleased, I think, to be here and highlight some of the great work that's going on through the for the programme. My focus is actually on making the UK a better place to scale EdTech specifically, and that means improving basic things like connectivity, procurement, interoperability, and making sure that emerging tools like AI, I also wear another hat on the kind of AI in Education Advisory Board, ensuring that these things can be adopted responsibly and effectively in schools, colleges and universities. And there's also some, so a strong reason why I think SMEs are core to my work. So the EdTech sector in England specifically has around about 1,000 companies, and 90% of them are SMEs, and they're a really strong contributor to the economy. So they employ about 40,000 people and generate, I think, last figure was around 4 billion in value to the UK. But the landscape is still quite fragmented, and breaking into the education market is quite difficult. So that's why I think my work sits really neatly at this intersection between the education sector and our SME growth work. So on the SME growth work, we support about 1,100 different tech companies, and about 70% of those are SMEs. So they're a core kind of part of our community. And we support these firms in 4 practical ways, I'd say. So the first is we help them connect with buyers, particularly the public sector. So we're really well known for our connections to the public sector, me handling education. And we do this through events and briefings and campaign activities. Secondly, we do signpost funding opportunities, whether that's Innovate UK or SBRI or other routes. And then thirdly, we offer guidance on things like frameworks and procurement and standards. And then the final point is that we directly advocate for SMEs to government, especially around things like shaping the future of AI and cyber, and in my case, EdTech. So one thing that I think, just to put that in translation, so one of the things that I'm certainly very keen to do is to help build stronger market signals for SMEs operating in education. And in my patch, there's a recent figure that around 40% of EdTech firms are looking at things like independent learning or parental engagement, but often it's the case that firms that focus on things like admin, timetabling, workload automation within education scale the fastest. So surfacing kind of market signals like that is a really important part of our work, and as I say, that's my specific focus for education. Similarly, and that's schools focus, but similarly I work quite a lot with higher education, and I think we're in a real inflection point when it comes to the relationships between universities and businesses, specifically SMEs. On the university side, many of you might be aware that universities are facing growing pressures around competition and finance, and accelerated challenges of AI. And I think one of the best kind of strategic responses to these challenges is to partner and work more closely with the tech sector. And you'll be surprised techUK saying that, but that is an area where we're obviously very keen to support, and that falls within my programme. And this can be on things to kind of bring in new thinking for universities, to expand applied research and generate real world impact. And then on the SME side, the story's quite similar. So many want to grow, they'll struggle to access capital, to demonstrate value, to break into markets, and they're highly productive, but the many SMEs are largely invisible. And I think that the challenge isn't really the potential, it's the lack of infrastructure to show this. So programs at Brunel, I think, are a great way of demonstrating what works. And there's some interesting work that's come out of the National Centre for Universities and Business, who I know Michael and colleagues work with, showing that there is a real increase in collaboration between universities and businesses, but there is still a noticeable gap when it comes to SMEs. So, as I say, programs like RIEm are highly useful for closing that gap. And not to labour too much on the point of AI, and often get shot down for being the first person to mention AI in a webinar or call, but I think it's a really interesting frame to look at this area for collaboration. So SMEs don't just need funding, they need shared data environments, they need trusted infrastructure for doing all the research in this place. And I think universities are an ideal partner in helping them to generate kind of real world evidence that institutions and other investors kind of now expect, I think. I was just on a call with a really innovative company looking at synthetic user personas using AI, and the next stage is this evolution of maturing the models, which will require partnership with universities, I think, to get that to a level where it's highly impactful. So we're seeing kind of increasing demand, increasing calls in our engagement with members. So just to draw my section to a bit of a close, at techUK we're really well known, I think, for backing SMEs with better infrastructure, with clearer market routes, and in my case, better signals around our markets. And I see universities as a highly critical partner in this journey. So more of these events, more of these opportunities and programs, I think will be really healthy, not just for our membership, but also for universities. And I'm really happy to answer any questions later on in the call.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Austin. That's fantastic to know more about techUK and also the support you offer for businesses and also strengthening the collaboration. Thank you. So the next part of the session, I will be highlighting in particular the program we heard from Jeff and also from Austin, the Research, Innovate and Emerge program here in Brunel. Because when we thought about planning for this session, we highlighted how to secure, our question was how to secure funding for collaborative research and innovation. So just before I go into the details, so just I know we can't speak, but using your digital buttons there, using raising hands or whatever other chat option, how many of you are looking for funding for research or innovation in your organization? So I mean, if you are using chat function or yes, raising hands, feel free to do so. Yes. I see the number is going up. Yes, I have the messages there. Yes. Robin, Pal, yes, others, yes, exactly. Yes, you are, or some of you already have. So yes, around 7 people. Helen, yes, thank you. Roger, yeah. So I mean, that's the reason we are here. So I'm just also wondering how many of you have secured funding, or the art of getting funding. Yes, I see one hand there. Pal, yes, has got some experience of getting funding. I see others there. Sorry, I'm not able to read everyone's name. Yeah. So yes, some of you have got that. Was also a great experience. So yes, we know sometimes how challenging, because there is always competition out there. So what we are going to discuss in my presentation, what I'm going to highlight is in particular, the RIEm program, how we are helping businesses to access funding for collaborative research and innovation. So again, when I say this, I used to work, say, 16, 17 years in private sector. So it's only now, last days, over 6 years I'm in the university. So I did my research, went back to work in private sector. I was head of business development for a large consultancy firm with a $500 million turnover. So I understand the challenges of generating revenue. And also we went for lots of bids and tenders in my previous job. So again, the University Brunel is known for working with businesses to help them to secure funding. So with that, university's experience, with my private sector experience and working with colleagues here, we tried to develop the RIEm program. So basically, as you see here, the main aim of the program is to helping businesses to access innovation funding. And then we would like you also to understand that the research and innovation expertise, offered by a university, in this case Brunel, and how that could be capitalized when you go for, say, funding or looking for, say, public funding. For example, Innovate UK funds a university partner, maybe minimum 30% or more, to do the R&D for a company if we are in a consortium. But of course, you need to know how you play that cards very well. And then, as part of the RIEm program, we are helping businesses to develop funding application. We mostly target Innovate UK as the main funder. Of course, we bring in other funders. So that will be integrated with some sort of mentoring and support as well. And then at the end, we would like you to grow, the businesses to grow, and also to see how you could work together with an R&D partner or within the consortium, with the cohort members. I have had experience of businesses, say after joining the program, then going for consortium, so that importance of the collaboration. So again, I have a very small video here just to summarize the perspectives of different people. So you will see some of us talking there in the video as well. So I'll be playing this video now. Okay, so that's what we are discussing here. So that was the video with our first cohort of businesses. Now we have worked with 4 cohorts, around 100 businesses in the UK. So in summary, what are the offerings? So I have seen some questions and comments here. I'll come to that later. So thank you to Paul and Rob. So our so we say main 3 offerings. So the access to experts and facilities for technical and research support and how to get funding for it. Then free consultancy and mentoring to develop your innovation strategy and plan. Richard would share some of his observation as an expert consultant working with us for the last 4 years. And then accelerated route to funding and market possibilities. You'll also hear from Victor how that would happen after attending the RIEm program. So in terms of the main offerings, so we say it's around valued at around £10,000 because we are lucky to have some funding from government to cover the logistics and things. Of course, it's a small project in terms of funding, but of course some of us from the university will put our pro bono time and effort. So that's why we are able to run this program. So we have an onboarding assessment to understand what is your innovation challenge, what is your capacity, where you are, and then we using that, when you join the program, we request you to submit a brief application with 100 words in terms of your priority. That helps us, like me, there are other 4 business development managers here in Brunel. So they would introduce you to relevant research groups or experts. And then when you come here, we have 3 workshops in Brunel. So so each happening from the month from the month of February. 1 whole day you are here. So very practical sessions in terms of how do you develop your innovation plan, how do you advance your technology readiness level. We bring in some experts. We have some collaborative case studies, and we have lots of practical workshops. Using different case studies from different sectors that are relevant for the businesses. And then give you some homeworks. We want you to for example, send you a concept note, or we will give you 4 or 5 questions of Innovate UK, so that you are able to think through it from that perspective. And then we introduce you to some of the funders or some of the other opportunities. That's where for the third workshop we bring in 4 or 5 investors or funders here. So we select the top 3 concept notes or plans, and then they pitch to the businesses. So that was not there in the very first 2 cohorts, but later we introduced this. So as you see, the program is run in 4 phases. So the first, the needs assessment, the onboarding process, and then we have got help you to develop your strategy, and then proposal. And at the end, we want you to submit a convincing funding proposal to different funders. So this is one example. The last cohort, if you saw my very first slide, that was the full members or cohort members, and with some investors, and the final day of the RIEm 4th edition. So this is again, as you saw in my slide, phase 3. So we bring in investors, and then the first picture is actually this is Ben, one of the participants, pitching to the companies. And the second slide, the middle, is Innovate UK regional manager. And he brought in 3 colleagues from Innovate UK to address the participants. And the third picture is actually Ed from SFC Capital Partners, who comes and interacts with our RIEm participants. And Victor would share his experience of getting funding from SFC Capital Partners later in his sharing of experience. So what, can everybody join the program? Yes, provided you meet some criteria. So we would say, as a business, you need to have a turnover or investment of £100,000 minimum. So we do ask for evidence. You should have a product or a service or a technology ready for development. So that is that innovation challenge you suggest to articulate in your plan or application. And then we say it should be a technology readiness level 3. So we'll discuss some of those things. And you should have minimum 2 or 3 staff full-time on payroll. Otherwise, we find it challenging for the businesses to get maximum benefits. And then, little or no previous experience for applying for funding, or might have applied and got some funding, but later you were not successful, but you really want to get more funding. So, and then commitment to the RIEm journey. So with all, I'm saying all this, what has been the outcome for us? So outcome for us has been, you see here, we worked with, as I said, around 100 business in the UK, and we have submitted proposals, I would say over 20 million. And as per BOHO's data, very recent, these businesses who have been with us, they have raised over 5 million from Innovate UK alone. And the VC funding they have got, some of them update us, some of them don't. So we don't know. But we know lots of them have got VC funding. And plus they have got other benefits. They have got, impact case studies. They recruit our graduates. So different things. So we did an independent evaluation, an external agency, S4W, because we wanted to know the benefit of the RIEm program. Sorry, I put a self-reminder for myself saying, 12 minutes is up. So another 3 more minutes, depending on the time. So the evaluation shows that it was quite in a good response rate from the previous 2 cohorts. And then, as you see on the graph, if you can see clearly, the very first one in the blue and the amber, mostly positive. The graph, as you see in terms of onboarding, on customer centricity, helping businesses, the other 2 are difficult or very difficult. That means we have only the neutral, there are a couple of things, so which means we need to improve. But overall, we see businesses have responded very positively in terms of the experience they have had. And what about the other type of impact? So full-on funding, that is the measure of success for us. So as you see here, so from those who, at the first 2 cohorts, they had 73% success rate, provided they submitted an application to Innovate UK. That's quite high in comparison to the average, which is 5 to 7%, or sometimes even less than that. So Brunel also got a little bit of funding. Again, it's not, it's much more an opportunity for us to develop collaboration. So again, in terms of the cost benefit ratio, for every £1 as new money taxpayers spend, businesses raise £23.5. And for Brunel, yes, every £1 we raise £4.47. So this is a number plus other benefits. So you businesses recruit our graduates, but lots of talents here. There are consultancy opportunities, a profile building, etc., etc. So this is one example of a participant. This is Andrew Tucker from Metal Capital. When he came here, he had a solution. He had data to identify the reputational analysis of ESG priorities, from different companies. They put on website, environment, society, and governance. But he worked with our mathematics experts because they had a model. So with that, he could validate his solution. He raised over £250,000 from Innovate UK, part of the 1 million consortium, that idea of collaborative research innovation. We were a partner, we got tiny funding. And he, at the back of his solution, was validated by research experts and published in a journal. He got a fee-paying client as a bank, and he's raising for more funds now. We are again happy with the positive response. Again here, RIEm, who has a company in West London in Hayes, helping children to improve their mental health with concentration, a handheld device. So he never validated that solution. So we help our psychology experts, helped him to validate with a clinical ethics approved study in school. He raised over £600,000 and he's selling more. And now we are further doing research as a clinical trial of his solution. So we had other wider impact. I know Austin mentioned about we being recognized with working with the National Center for Universities and Business, on the right side. So it's a government body. They recognized our program as a national impact case study. We were featured, by West London Business with an award. So we're humbling because it's a humbling feedback we get, but also participants. Notpla got their sword prize in 2022. Everything you see on the right is made of seaweed, not plastic. So they raise, we can't take any credit for their innovation, but they saw the value of this program. And they still continue to work with us for some R&D with our labs and people. So, of course, with all this I'm saying, we do have challenges. I'm not saying we can meet all the needs of the businesses. So we may not have all the skills, all the resources. And again, continuing that interaction may not be easy for us because we have 100 businesses plus the new cohort coming. And sometimes I think businesses think that their TRL level is very high. They can immediately take it to the market, which is not so. And then again, how as a university, how we can address the emerging needs of the businesses. It's also sometimes it's challenging. So I would say, so in summary, so this is our experience. So I will come to some of the questions later, but the good news is, you have an opportunity to join the program. And the application deadline, because there's an interim deadline as by end of August, if you submit and if you are eligible to join the program, you get invited to an alumni gathering happening in Brunel with other businesses being part of the journey on 8th of October. And we do bring in other funders here. And it's a very small application process. You see, it's only a 100-word summary about the priority and the rest. Normal things. And we have no stake. Even if you attend the program, you get the funding. We have no stake. We have no equity in your company, even if you get funding or you don't get funding. So as I said, we are funded by the government to do the program. So with this, so in summary, this is an opportunity for us. If you see, if it's relevant for you, if you meet the criteria, I would strongly encourage you to apply for this. So with this, I conclude my presentation, and I request Richard Rugili, Associate Director of Beta Technology and Expert Consultant for RIEm, to share his observations or reflections on supporting RIEm alumni businesses. Richard, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. So this is a review of how we've gone through with previous cohorts. As Michael mentioned, we've had 4 cohorts go through. I've been involved supporting Michael and the team over these 4 cohorts, and my background has been involved in innovation, R&D support for over 35 years, both in the UK and in Europe. So Michael, next slide, please. So what we've had really is quite a really good set of companies over the previous cohorts. They have come from a variety of different sectors and business models and experiences. And this is both challenging, but very encouraging. And one of the things that has been mentioned already is the way that the different companies help each other and can share their experiences. And picking up Austin's comments around tech companies, a number of the companies in the last cohort have a tech background, and certainly 8 of them were involved in some way with AI. So that has been interesting to see that evolve over the four cohorts into that sort of technology. And having innovative ideas. Most companies who have been on tend to come with quite a number of ideas and thoughts as to what they'd like to do or what technology they've got or what markets they want to get into. And so distilling that and focusing on the most relevant that supports their business goals and how they want to grow is a key feature early on in the workshop program. So Michael, if we move to the next one, please. Most businesses that have been on have had little or no experience of working with a university or applying for funding. And that's interesting. Both funding and universities can have their own language, their own way of interacting. And for a lot of companies, it's how do they kind of break into that and understand that. So that's part of the function of the workshop program, is to help these companies understand the language of funding and the language of the universities. And for me, I've interfaced with a large number of universities over the years, and with Brunel, they provide a really good introduction into the university, and a broad introduction that tries to cover most of the, if not all of the technologies which are present on the cohort. And this helps to break down the barriers, connect academic staff with the companies on it, and that has helped in bridging and generating ideas. One of the issues with small companies, and Michael touched on that in terms of the kind of background of companies we want, is most have little spare financial or human resource, and therefore having the support and access to the university is really helpful. And we've had some very keen and motivated attendees, which certainly for Michael and I and other presenters can be quite stressful at times. They come up with a lot of challenging questions, which is good. And also, as I said, we get members of the cohort helping each other and answering questions. Next one, please, Michael. It is important really for those that attend that they feel that they can assign time to attend the workshops and to complete the assignments between each workshop. So we kind of build up over the 3 workshops an understanding of bidding into a typical kind of funding scenario, and that generates a certain amount of generic information for that organisation. So when a full proposal opportunity comes along, they've done quite a lot of the groundwork. But in order to do that, it's important to assign the time to attend, which is difficult when you've got the day job to focus on. And then, as Michael said, there's some of my time available to support in the background as consultancy support, one-to-one with each company, and part of that's onboarding as well. And just to remember that accessing funding and working with the universities to support your objectives as a company, and And the first workshop is really to gain focus on what you need as support. It may be finance, but how is that finance going to support you, and how is that project going to support your growth as a company? So those are just a few observations, and it'd be great to see some or all of you attending the next session of RIEm, which will start later in the year. I think that's it, Michael.
Thank you very much, Richard, for that very insightful reflection. Thank you. And so the next part of our agenda is, Richard and I, we all talked about RIEm program, but the experience of being part of RIEm and the impact whatever we are sharing has been really felt or not. So Victor will be sharing to Herbari, who's the founder and CEO of Renewal. So we'll be sharing his experience, and he also actually secured $500,000 or nearing $500,000 after attending the RIEm program. So Victor, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Thank you and hi everyone. It's really nice to be invited here today. My name is Victor. As Michael said, I'm co-founder and CEO at Renewal. We are a neurotech startup working in the areas of brain injury. We particularly focus on stroke, and we are developing a virtual reality-based neurorehabilitation system, which can be used for physical and cognitive recovery at the moment, but also we're expanding into supporting the patients in their mental health recovery after they suffer the stroke, visual recovery, and swallowing. My background is biomedical engineering, and I am a Brunel alumni, so I can say that both my personal journey started as an entrepreneur at Brunel, but also Renewal's journey started to gain traction after engaging with Brunel, after engaging with the RIEm program. And the way it worked, we got in touch with Michael, and Michael introduced us in the initial stages to a couple of high caliber clinicians at Brunel. So we were in contact with physiotherapists and as well medical device design experts. Shortly after that, we started a usability study in collaboration with Brunel University, where as well there are 3 hospitals engaged. And that set the foundation for us to be a company which was credible and a company which had, in the very early stages, the data which we could use for applying to grants, and as well to the to include it in the pitch presentations. We met our investor at one of the events run by RIEm, as Michael suggested. So that was SFC Capital. We got a positive commitment from them a couple of months later when we made some more progress at the company. But that response was conditional, so they would invest in us if we were successful to obtain some more non-dilutive funding from RIEm or from other bodies, because healthcare and health tech startups are very risky. It takes an average of 5 years for a healthcare company to get to the market. And it takes a lot of money. So that condition was quite reasonable for us. And then from there, we developed a strategy of how we're going to get that non-dilutive funding. We were particularly focused on the investor partnerships program, which is run by RIEm. It was very early stages of the program. I think we applied for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th run of that program. It was very competitive for us, so it was an iterative process. We failed twice at it. We didn't manage to secure the grant, although we managed to get a quite high score. And what we learned was that with Innovate UK, it's not always about how good the idea is. It's not always about how good the grant has been written or how good your project proposal is. It's also about the region where you're based in the UK and also the emerging needs in that region. So being able to match what you offer with what the region needs or what the governmental priority in that region is, it's something which made a big impact in our third run. So from our engagement with SFC, we kept in touch all that period. It took us almost a year to close the investment, but as soon as we secured the grant, everything moved at lightning speed, with the money being in our bank accounts a week or so later after we secured the grant. So keeping in touch with your investors, updating them all your steps on all your achievements, it's very important. And you know, from the learnings I want to share today is the fundraising strategy is very important. Going after angels or going after venture capitalists is completely two different avenues. It's hard to do both together, and very often that's going to depend on, you know, the stage of your company, your caliber as an entrepreneur. Are you a serial entrepreneur? Have you worked for big tech startups, companies, and so on? So, you know, the better you can share your credentials, the more experience you have behind you, that can determine if an angel or a VC capitalist will invest in your startup. So determining that in the very early stages is very important, so you don't waste time going after the wrong people. And also being flexible in your approach. It's something also important. Keeping an eye on the grants from Innovate UK, for example, SBRI, that will also help you if your company, your startup, is part of what Innovate UK will fund. So highly innovative, highly scalable companies with potential for international expansion and export. So if you find that your company is part of that criteria, I would highly encourage you to go to Innovate UK for funding. I would highly encourage you to go through the RIEm program, so they will advise you how you can maximize your chances for getting a grant, and also close the investment after you are ready, because the investors also will sense when you're ready. And with that in mind, I'll head back to Michael, and I understand there will be some questions later on, and I'm happy to pick up all of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. That's very, very insightful, and also understanding and learning from your experience there. So hello everybody. Now it's time for some discussion. So if you want to, I know some of you have already used the chat function, so I'll come to those questions. And again, if you want to speak, unmute yourself, you can also do that. If you feel free to speak, come on video, or all my colleagues, or speaking as well. So yes, we have one comment here from Pal saying, yes, you managed to get some funding from SBRI. Well done, Pal. Yes, I know, because Pal can see the company and Brunel, we are in discussion now. So there may be other opportunities for us to work together. So thank you. And Rob, you know, well, Brunel has a chemical engineering department or not. We do have a chemical engineering department, Rob, and we do have a graduate degree degree, master's program, research, plus lots of people do work there. I know people who work on batteries and other things. I'm not trained in engineering. I was trained in health, but in case that's of interest to your organization, I would say please do consider. And if the RIEm program is useful for you, again, I would say please do consider. We do have some very good chemical engineering people here, and they do have success with the Innovate UK and other funders as well. So any other questions or any other comments from the participants? Okay, so
sorry.
Yes, please do.
It's Pal Basate from Seat. In terms of the entry criteria for this program, what is that?
Yes,
You were to make an application.
Yeah, as I mentioned in my presentation, I mean, we would say you need to have an innovation challenge. You need to have any evidence of investment of 100,000 or revenue, 100,000 pounds, and 2 or 3 people on full time. On payroll, sorry. Yeah, I'm just going through those slides. You can see
I missed that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So so as you see, a turnover investment of 100,000 pounds, a product, service, or technology ready for development, described in 100 words. And then that should be TRL level 3. So you're not talking very early stage idea. So we then minimum 2 or 3 staff on payroll. That's because because it takes someone's whole day. And if you're only half a day, one person only in the company, it's difficult for you to attend and do some follow-on tasks. So yeah, and then a little or no previous experience of applying for funding. I know you have some experience, but again, you are thinking of getting more funding. So we would welcome even if you had some other experience in the past. So
okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad. Thank you, Pal, for raising that question. So EEFC, I'm sorry, I can't see your name, but thank you for asking this question. Can you explain more about the process of submitting a proposal? So I just want to open up. Richard, do you want to respond to that question? And then I'm happy to add, if anything, I should add. Richard?
Yes. I'm assuming this is a funding proposal that we would do with you. So funding is as Victor described as well, is understanding what your technology or product or services that you want to have funding for, why it is innovative, what the market is, etc., what research is required. And who's going to do that, and who may you need to partner with. You may be able to do it on your own through your own resources, or you may have a need for research support from, say, Brunel in particular avenues. And that's what we do at the beginning workshop, is trying to help the individual companies understand, so what do I want to focus on? What's the product development? What's the time scale? And that's another one. If you're doing proposals for funding, that takes time to work through the system. Some of the Innovate UK can be quicker, but you're still talking about several months. And then you'd have to run the project, and that might be 6 months, 12 months as a minimum. So you're talking a while before you get the output from the project. So you need to understand how that funding will support what you're trying to do as a business. The other thing is, as well as doing the proposal and developing the proposal and the idea, is what spin-offs you may have in that process. So, for example, it may be by having conversations with the university, or it may be through talking to other people as partners. You suddenly find new synergies, new opportunities to work with them, and that's come around by being looking at this funding opportunity. So, and we found that, I think, in the cohort in 23, where two or three of the organisations, by chance, were kind of quite aligned in a value chain. And so they started to talk with each other about funding opportunities after the cohort had finished. So I don't know whether that answers that particular question. In terms of a proposal to come on to RIEm, I think as Michael said, it's only, I think, 100 words to encapsulate what you do as a business and what you're looking for. I think that's right on that.
Yeah. Thank you, Richard. And again, there, I mean, those some of the details we do cover in the workshops and your homework we assign for you or follow-on task, because we do take different components of Innovate UK proposal. And by the time you finish the program, you might have done maybe, I would say, 70% of Innovate UK proposal. So all the core things. Then thank you. So Helen, your question about eligibility. So I would say, look, if you are a very early stage organization, then it may not be relevant. It may not be appropriate. But say if you have evidence of investment, at least 1 or 2 staff on payroll, then we would say, yeah, it may be the right stage, because Innovate UK. Innovate UK actually would prefer you to have people on payroll most cases before they award you the funding. I mean, there could be exceptions for small grants, 50K or 75K. They may not be that strict, but if anything above that you're asking, they do ask for your staffing numbers and details. And also what we saw from first 2 cohorts, those, if it's only 1 person organization, it's difficult for that company to focus on the right program. So, sadly, it may not benefit that organization. So, any other question there or any other comments? Or while you're thinking, if I may bring in Victor. Victor, you did work with some of our colleagues. You got innovation voucher to validate, do some feasibility study. Could you very briefly say, then I would come to Austin later about techUK's in particular support. So Victor, could you say, how was that process for you to that user experience study for your product?
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. What can I say first? It was extremely cost effective. Now looking back of us approaching other organizations to do similar things, it was very early engagement. The process was straightforward. So it was completing an application form. We got linked with the therapist and academics. We very quickly put a proposal together, and then the clinicians use their own network to organize the stroke survivors, the physiotherapists, all the rooms we need, all the facilities, the questions. So for us, it was a great process, because all we had to do is what we're best at, which is create the therapies, prepare the technology, and make sure that the technology delivers, and then we could leave all the research part to the academics.
Thank you, Victor. Fascinating. And again, we do provide a facility called innovation voucher, up to £5,000 of new resource. You won't get the funds into your account, but we give you new staff to do your research or get some other support. So that's what Victor was referring, how that was useful for him to do some feasibility study involving clinicians from NHS. So now, Austin, from a techUK point of view, now we had the spending review and a little bit of a policy. You do some policy work, don't you? So and there's a lot of support for innovation now. So what would you say as the opportunity there, very briefly, and then I'll come to the next question for businesses, and to work with the research partners.
Yeah, I think it might be well known, or it might not be known to callers, that we have a really strong relationship with government, and often influence, I think, a lot of the outcomes of things like the industrial strategy, or in my area of work, things around trusted research and where the need for innovation is in that space. where I'd see, I mean, I'd certainly encourage to engage with some of our colleagues that are leading on some of that work of policy engagement. But where I think I see opportunities, certainly around the IS8 areas, that links up quite well, I think, with my program in terms of our engagement with universities. Is to target, I think, some of those IS8 or some of this kind of 17 categories that have been put forward around kind of export control licenses, because that's where government is specifically looking. Again, I think that there's some analysis that my colleagues have been doing based on the spending review, based on the industrial strategy, based on the specific industrial strategies that have been released around things like defence, to explore some of the areas where, number one, funding, but also product growth opportunities sit. I mean, we're often used by government as a pre-engagement vehicle. So if there are, and not just the government, sorry, by the public sector. So that's the other area that perhaps I'd encourage attendees of this call to look at, is to look at some of the earlier opportunities that might be being flagged to us by specific departments. So it could be that Guy's and St Thomas Hospital is really interested in work on neurology and the role of tech in neurology, and they'll often come to us well before setting their digital strategy or their strategy in that area. But yeah, we run about 500 different events and opportunities to engage with government and the public sector on an annual basis. So I suppose a call to check out our website, which I'll share in the chat as well.
Okay. Thank you very much, Austin. That's very, very, very insightful, informative. So it's the final question we have. I know we're just hitting 1 o'clock. So in terms of the financial threshold for eligibility, that is, yes, the way we ask for, ask your revenue, whether you have raised capital, then we will ask for the company house account or your bank statement. If you say you have raised capital of 100K plus, or your income, again, you'd ask for evidence of that. We are not talking here about your profit, so at least you have got a business that has raised over £100,000. So that's what. And then there are a couple of questions. I know a couple of you have already applied for, in terms of the practicalities of how many staff and things. Happy to discuss that later offline. But I know I have already got 4 or 5 applications in the last 1 or 2 days. So we are usually oversubscribed. As I said, if you are interested, I would say please do complete the application very soon. And we do sometimes post things on LinkedIn about funding opportunities, collaboration opportunities. I mean, this is the QR code of the LinkedIn page of RIEm. I would say please do follow us, if you'd like to get more updates. And looking forward to meeting all of you, at least some of you, maybe in October here in Brunel. And let me again conclude this saying, thank you very much, everybody. And thank you to all our speakers. And looking forward to continue to engage with all of you.